Of the IESF World Esports Championship 2024 in Riyadh. My name is Hans Galleria, and together with me is Womi. And you're right, guys. It's not a joke. It's not a dream. I know it's probably nighttime for most of the countries that are watching right now, but this is not a dream. You're currently watching the draft pick for both of these teams. We're going pretty quickly with Indonesia on the red side and Guam on the blue side. Womi, kick us up to speed with this one, please.
Pretty much, this is standard drafting. No longer are we seeing the ones from the Czech thing one. It's because the Hilda already locked in for the side of Guam. They did realize how big that Hilda pick was coming in from Luke in game number 1. So stealing that away definitely is a big step towards their next potential game here, potential win. But taking the Alpha as well, paired up against against a Suyu, is definitely a step towards the right direction. So with the bans going to the second phase as well, taking away the Khalid and the Joe, these are just mainly things that you do not want to go up against. Like if you're Lu Yi, you don't want a Khalid that could just follow you around and even stun up the entirety of the diversion play. And when you're looking at a Alpha or even at Harith, you don't want a Cho in that. Because the moment the Cho kicks one of you, might just be half of your damage gone inside an entire team fight.
Yeah, and I feel like now, in this specific moment, you have the Lu Yi on the side of Indonesia. It's still Guam missing some sort of a mid laner, which is the reason why the pick or the ban towards the Vexana is good. I feel like the Aurora could pose a good problem here for Indonesia if they want to, because again, that is a really good hero for counter attacks, and Gatot Kacha, both the Gatot Kacha and the Soyu are really good heroes in terms of initiation. So maybe Guam could put a stop to that, but it depends on what their final pick for the mid laner is gonna be like, because they still are yet to ban as well. And on the other side, that's a gold laner missing. So have it maybe in terms of this specific scenario, again, they could go for something else.
Yeah, and with the mid lane options dumbed down to a potential Aurora out here, the Valentina is still open, but right now there aren't a lot of stuff that you want to take away if you're a Valentina. The Zask definitely could be an option too, but right now Zask hasn't really found himself like I think several months ago, mainly because of the nerfs that came in towards the last 2 patches, and that wasn't really healthy for Zask, but still a viable option if ever they do want to melt the tanks coming in from the side of Indonesia, because they are running possible Akai roam here if you're Kiboy. But wow, it's very interesting to see this Akai paired up with Lu Yi. Most of the time, you don't see this unless they're very comfortable layering their ultimates together.
I mean, right after that game 1, right? Being comfortable may be an understatement. In that very first game of theirs for their series, they want to develop that confidence once again, depending on how this is going to go. But here it goes. Guam looking for another sort of setup that they would want to do here. This time, it would arrive with a Rafaela and the Sicilian combo, something that we've seen, which is the Sicilian, but the Rafaela is going to be here, but the Brokey is going to be the addition. Womi, this is probably the some of the new things that you would see here in this current series.
Yeah. Well, definitely something new for both sides, but I want to focus on Guam a bit here. You have the Sicilian, the Rafaela. This is a clear message to Indonesia right now. They're not going to play towards their pace. They're going to try to extend the game. They're going to try to rotate as fast as they can and maybe clear some waves and potentially bring this to late game. But if they're able to survive the early onslaught of Indonesia, there is a big chance that this Sicilian could just scale up, because right now the Sicilian is a sleeper pick. One of the, I would say, mages that could potentially strike up in the meta stages, but right now not so much, mainly because we have a lot of early game assassins. But give it a bit of time, the Sicilian could deal a lot of damage in this game number 2. But if you're Indonesia, they do have early game advantage. The only early game damage source coming in from Guam would be the Alpha or level 4, or maybe even the Hilda by level 4. But other than those 2 picks, they don't have as much as damage that Indonesia has.
Yeah, at this point, if you are Guam, you're gonna have to find a way to at least cater to the absolute aggression that Indonesia has been showing ever since the first game. And we've seen that especially with at least 14-0 or 15-0 game number one. So hopefully if you are Guam, you've found at least a way to get a couple of kills before it even starts. And if you don't get kills, you cannot get killed in this very first 5 minutes of the game if you want this to go to the later portions, just like their composition in the very first one.
Yeah, and in terms of early game damage, you could already see it in Indonesia. You have the Brody, you have the Suyu, and you even have the Luo Yi is known to just pick up the pace the moment the diversion is there. But look at this potential combo coming in from Sans, but doesn't really pull the trigger. And now you can see Albert just going inside the jungle of Guam, and this is where it starts. This is where the early game pressure starts for Indonesia.
Just look at how comfortable Indonesia is. They don't give a care in the world on whether or not they're seen by the rest of the members of Guam. They just want to go ahead, unleash hell towards them, and here it goes again.
Another camp stolen from Guam in Indonesia. They're pushing their advantage inside the jungle of Guam, and this is not good if you're Slopsy. You want to be able to at least be between levels 1 or 2 against Albert here, because the moment you give the Suyu a 2-level advantage or a 3-level advantage, that's where you surrender these turtles, these lords quite fast, because the retribution damage coming in from the Suyu is just definitely insane. And right now we could see that they're going in for the trade inside the jungle of Indonesia, as the turtle is freely given away to Indonesia.
Yeah, at this point in time, they're really gonna have to find a way, because again, these are some certain objectives that aren't really going to the side of Guam as of the moment. Indonesia freely getting those objectives as much and whenever they want to. So this is starting to be a problem, similar to game number one, where Indonesia is getting free reign, and not only that, even Albert is getting a lot of those as well, getting those objectives simply while not even getting anything in return.
And look at this, Sans and Luke just going at it. Zukata Zen pops the Revitalize, tries to survive for a bit more, and Luke might just bite more than he could chew. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but looks like the Alpha will be able to take one kill. Slopsy goes down as well, and JBS, they got to escape. The heals are there, but it's a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Indonesia.
You know what, Womi? If you're Guam, it's the first point on the board for you. You finally got a kill. You finally got at least something out of that fight. So this is something that they could definitely build up on in the middle portions of the matchup. And not only that, right? You gave Secret an assist to at least get that gold up, and hopefully they could do something about it. But again, they need to find an answer towards Kiboy, who has both of the kills of Indonesia, and he's someone that Guam is starting to struggle to take down, given that the lack of damage that they have with Secret not having enough damage output.
Look at this, Slopsy taken down to half HP. Kiboy has to dash out, and this is what Guam is doing right now. They're trying to protect the jungle, but looks like in the bottom lane, a 2v1 setup. The Brody ultimate doesn't really get one, but that's two from Secret. Sanguine Claws lands, and Kiboy in the zero bush here. JBS low on mana, but here comes the taunt and the combo. Kai goes down, and Kiboy with a Revitalize just keeps everyone alive. Secret in a 5v1 setup burns the flicker as well, and there you go. 3 people down for Guam and Indonesia once again, going for that winning team fight. And in a 5v1 setup, Zukata Zen gives himself away as well. That was uncalled for. I feel like that was a bit too much already.
Yeah, Zukata Zen just found himself in the mercy of, Indonesia being surrounded by his opponents there. I mean, he had the right intention. He wanted to go for at least Albert, given the HP already was low, but Slopsy is gonna go down this time around. My goodness, just because of one team fight alone, India has completely even extended or widened the gap of this game so far. Turtle going basically to their side, and they know what they're supposed to do. Yes, Guam would have one kill at least, but Indonesia's looking forward to stop them with just one.
Yeah, the flicker burnt as well for Luke. They were really wanting that kill against Slopsy. They want to keep the pace, they want to continue the aggression, and they don't mind burning a couple of flickers if that means that they could make this diversion play inside the blue buff bush, or the purple buff rather. Slopsy, here comes another round, a two-man stun, and looks like Kai will be still surviving with the dashes, and the dive might just go bad here for Indonesia. Luke goes down, and Secret is able to stay alive. A 2-for-1 exchange once again in Indonesia. They come out as the victors, but then again, those are a couple of shutdown kills that Guam really wants.
Basic MLBB fundamentals here. You see the concept of trading here from Indonesia. Yes, it was Luke going down, and that's already the second death of Luke, who by the way is using Akai in the EXP lane, but he has utilized a lot of those heavy spins to the benefit of Indonesia, and they have managed to get a lot of those HP bars going down, which has developed them to getting at least a 7k gold lead that you currently see on your screens. 9-2 in terms of kills as well. So, Guam is starting to take their time as to how they would be able to at least or hopefully extend the lead, but Indonesia picking up the pace by getting most of those objectives possible. And not only that, even playing very aggressive by taking their lives even under the turret if they want to.
And the flickers are up once again for the playmakers in Indonesia. Luke and Kiboy has that flicker. They could potentially pull the trigger here, but they are safely taking down the turret instead. Turtle will be spawning in 5 seconds, and that will be the last turtle of the game. And potentially Indonesia doesn't even care for it. They want a fight in the mid lane. Here comes the heavy spin. They do find Slopsy, but looks like the angles are a bit off, and the retributions are called. It's just going to be a turret for Indonesia.
Yeah, at this point in time, they are somewhat going to be safe. That's a turret going down, just like what you mentioned. And not only that, they were looking for something here. I mean, Guam brought a turret down. That's something that they could hope for very well. But Indonesia has had Kai in his tracks. He wanted to stop him as soon as he can, and they were able to. But Guam still gets something. And if you take a look at the composition in the late game, you have a Sicilian, you also have a Harith. I feel like they're good to go for like the wave clear, but all they need to do is the damage. And Indonesia is doing their very best to make sure that that doesn't happen, so they won't have a hard time in terms of the late game.
Yeah, and wave clear is the game here for Guam. Their main wave clearers, such as Kai and Secret, cannot die, cannot be sacrificed in the long run. You need to farm these waves because they cannot go outside of their pace right now. The Lord is already up. I think Indonesia opted to wait for the Lord instead. They did not get the third turtle. They waited for it to mature into a Lord and got that big objective instead. And now Zuka to Zen, a half HP already, and you could see that the power spike coming in from this Brody is already felt. Well, Secret still has to farm for quite a bit.
Yeah, you see the damage output that both Kai and Secret are landing towards Luke. It has been completely ineffective, which is why, Zuka to Zen wants to go at it, but to no avail. Oh my goodness.
There you go. The torn apart memory cannot dodge that at all. And another kill goes to the hands of Indonesia. Slopsy goes down. Now it's a 3v5 scenario with the Lord marching down in the mid lane. This might just be Indonesia's GG push 9 minutes in. 10 seconds for Zucata Zen. Slopsy 10 seconds as well. And they're already pushing without the minions even crashing in. Here comes Albert. JBS goes down. Heavy spin. A Secret able to flicker out and goes in with the Bat's impact as well. Kai burning the Zaman force. And here comes the Lord. Avatar of the Guardian lands on one, and Slopsy able to survive immediately. Luke goes down, and Zucata Zen as well. The Lord able to shred down a bit of the base, but looks like Guam is defending for quite a bit.
Yeah, they're trying to find a way to still keep this in play. Minion waves both at the middle, top, and bottom. But that might be taken care of by the side of Guam. They will be able to survive unless they do something a little risky here. So Indonesia not going to pull their strings together on offense, and Guam is going to be able to keep it together. And this is the scenario that we've seen from a while ago, where they've lasted for at least 10 minutes. They're looking forward to extend it to even more of that. But Albert and Indonesia already with yet again another 14,000 gold lead, less than or a bit more than a minute to go for that Lord to spawn, and they're gonna have to find a way again. Look at this.
Oh, and that is the way that they have found. Secret goes down, and here comes the heavy spin on it too. JBS and Kai, they're out as well. That's 2 people down for Guam. Make that a wipeout, and Indonesia goes in for the clean sweep. Just like that, with the diversion play, the series ends.
Oh, that was unfortunate, man. They had Guam's hopes up. Like for the first time